Hey, Brandon here. This is channeled advice on the week ahead. How are you doing? This is for the week of September 23rd through 29th, Monday through Sunday. I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time from my spirit guides, the angels and source, and I'll also be bringing through any additional channeled information from my spirit guides, the angels and source that would be for your highest good as I'm reading through these, and I'll work with my intuition on all this as well. So, first thing they'd like me to get to here, they're showing me this moth as well as a butterfly. There's a lot of bugs. There's a praying mantis, there's a daisy, there's all these flowers, there's a cornfield. So let me see what the channeled messages with all this stuff they're kind of inundating me with here. So I do have a channel message about this that came through ahead of time. They're showing me the season shift. Like we just had in the northern hemisphere the autumn equinox, which would be the spring equinox, I believe, in the southern hemisphere. And there are just a lot of transitions hitting the collective all at once, like this week, in the weeks ahead, in the next like 3 to 6 months, even. It's just like a major change, rocking the collective, hitting all of you, hitting me, even potentially in a good way. It doesn't have to be a bad or scary thing when this happens. It could be like the most positive change yet. So try not to pigeonhole everything into a negative definition right off the bat when you might not even realize what those messages entail as far as the changes. It could be like, oh, like if you would really like to get married, maybe it's you getting married. Maybe that's the major change. So that's one of the messages they'd like me to get to ahead of time because especially that last bit we just got to, because otherwise some of you might freak out about some of the messages and think like the worst is ahead when it could be the opposite or just something completely manageable. Okay. So let's keep that in mind right now. Like there are a lot of changes coming with this autumn season. Um, for some reason, they want me to tell you this. Like, there might be for about half of you some like plot twists in the next 3 months that are like huge. It's not going to be all of you, but they're telling me to tell you. There's like this post I saw, and it was like it was on one of the social media sites, of course, and it was just like waiting for the plot twist of this year, like from October to December, and then in like parentheses, like happens every year. So I don't think that's everyone. I don't think that's going to be all of you, but there are some plot twists ahead that could be major for about 45% to half of you tuning into this. Okay. So again, doesn't have to be bad. It's just, and take it how it resonates. Just realize things probably aren't always going to stay the same, going forward. So, and there's also like a lot of angelic guidance with this. There's a lot of divine protection around this crowd. At least for most of you. Okay. I'd definitely say all of you. And we're all kind of in different places. So that might even mean something different to different ones of you when I say that. Just realize that's the case, is what they're telling me to say here. With the praying mantis explicitly here, it is really time to leap onto opportunities and like snatch them because the praying mantis can like strike at the right time, and like strike in an instant when it's the best time to get its prey. And it's really kind of getting into this ripe season where it's time to snatch some opportunities or do some things you've been planning to do that maybe you've been putting off, but you're getting the message now is the right time or intuitively it feels right. So it's really time to put things in place and be prepared for snatching opportunities this week and ahead. I'd say at least through October coming up here is what's coming through. With the cornfields, they showed me ahead of time, it's about harvest. Again, of course, autumn equinox, harvest season traditionally is what it's seen as, and that can be energetic as well. So that can manifest in a number of different ways that resonate for us and our lives. It doesn't have to be a bunch of corn shows up at your door, or you're out there with the tractor harvesting the corn, or excuse me, anything like that. It can be a manifestation coming in. It can be abundance you've been praying for or working towards coming in, yada, yada. You get it. So just know that's in the energies very strongly this week and definitely at least through October and probably beyond as well. So one of the things they'd like me to get to next here, there was kind of a main sort of message that they wanted to get across for this week, and it's this. Really be clear about your intentions this week and clear on what you'd like to bring into your life. It may bring clarity on your next steps if you have a lot of clarity on what you'd like to have. At least write down in a journal, what would I like to have? And see what comes to you intuitively or channeled wise. You'll be 10 steps ahead of everyone else if you know what you're moving towards. And, if you think about it, there probably are a lot of people out in life there's nothing wrong with this. We don't need to judge it, but they're just kind of dawdling around and kind of moving to whatever shiny thing is seems to be in their peripheral vision next or whatever is their trying to move through life. And if you're clear on what you'd actually like to have, especially intuitively, and you're clear on your divine guidance on how to move towards it next or what the next steps are, you're really going to be rocketing ahead, is what I'm getting. And sometimes, even just manifestation wise, having that clarity can be huge with bringing in what you'd like to have. So I would take time, like, just to get clear on that even before maybe some of the not that you might have already had some of that harvest energy come in, but before some of that harvest energy really hits, or some of these manifestations come about, or some of these massive changes coming about, so you can kind of maybe even steer the change or work with it to your advantage. Okay. And if you're someone who's just kind of feeling a little bit lost right now, like, that's okay. Maybe try the exercise anyways and see, like, is there just one thing you can get clarity on in one area of life? And maybe the rest can fall into place as you move towards what you do have clarity on, even if it's just getting healthier, or it's like, I'd like to have more money or something like that. Sometimes you just have to follow the breadcrumbs that are presented instead of being worried about the breadcrumbs that are nowhere to be found in all these other areas, because those areas, again, they can fall into place as you tackle the areas you're supposed to be tackling right now. Okay. I'm going to tell you this too. This might be a little bit of a longer video if we get to too many different things, but I reminds me of a channel I was listening to by Lee Harris, and they talked about timelines. I've said this to a couple of you in like private readings, and I think I've said this in some videos, but I'll say it again. Where if you're focused on the main thing you're supposed to be focused on, like, let's say you check in intuitively and you're like, oh, I should really be focused on my business, or I should be focused on writing a book, or I should be focused on playing music, whatever it is. And then maybe there are like seven other things you'd like to bring in on the side. Like, well, I'd also like love. Well, I'd also like more friends. Well, I'd also like a new job, or something like that. And if you start focusing on the secondary things instead of the main thing you feel called to focus on, that might be when things aren't like working a little bit, or it might seem like there's a bit more fights, or struggle with the universe because you're trying to make love come in when you're getting to work on your book, or to getting to work on music, or getting to work on your business, or whatever it is. But if you focus on the main thing, those other things can come in with greater ease, while you're focused on that main thing. So you might, I think the example, well, one of the examples I could say is like, maybe you focus on your business and then like you meet your next love relationship through working on your business somehow, or through someone, a client. No, there's like, not that you cross professional boundaries that aren't for the highest good to be crossed, but you know what I'm saying. And yeah, not to put anything on you with the professional boundaries thing. I feel like I said something I wasn't totally supposed to say there, but so take that part with a grain of salt, but take the gist of the message. So keep that in mind right now. Like, what are you trying to bring in? What's the clarity in what you're trying to head towards? And see if that helps you out right now. So the next thing, they showed me a whale. They said big things coming. Hold on to your pants, buckle up, probably. So there are just big things coming for the collective, for this collective, maybe even for the world. So just kind of hang in there, especially if the waters seem choppy energetically. And if a day seems particularly rough, you're guided to, you can just stay home. You can take time off from work if you need, if you're guided to. You can do things to take care of yourself. And like, you don't have to go out with friends if it feels wrong for you. You don't have to leave the house for a certain day or weekend or week. If week might be a bit excessive, but if so guided. So don't force yourself to push yourself through things you're not supposed to push through regarding the choppy waters in the collective. I'm going to double check what the best way to say this. Don't push yourself through things you're guided not to push yourself through, is what I'm getting. Is like maybe a side message with this, or just to kind of go along with this for some reason. I know some of you are really tempted to, and it's just better to take care of you and do what's best for you and kind of let everything sort itself out. And the other thing is, like, if you have real friends, they're not going to be like that mad and like disown you as a friend if you don't go out with them one night, or something silly like that. Like, I think sometimes we really put this thing on relationships where it's like, oh, if we don't do everything perfect, it's like walking on eggshells. If we don't do everything perfectly and exactly how they want, then they're going to leave us. And like, that could be from so many different wounds from different people. And I'm not sure why I'm being guided to talk about this right now, So if you need to hear this, you're welcome. But the real ones are going to allow you to have boundaries, I guess is the way I'm going to say it. And they'll allow you to approach things in the way that works best for you, so long as it also honors their boundaries in a way that's healthy for both of you. You know what I'm saying? And I hesitate to say that because, I mean, if it just doesn't work as a relationship, it just doesn't work. But just make sure you're kind of putting yourself first enough. And not pushing through things you shouldn't be pushing yourself through. So let's move on here. We didn't even get to like the first few things that they really um, had ahead of time, besides those kind of bigger messages. So the first thing, jump. It's really time to quantum leap into new realities. It's time for a new beginning. Go hard into your future and don't look back for anyone. Some of you will be leaving things behind, but it's the right move. Trust yourself and your journey. If you're guided to do something, even things that don't make sense mentally, they will make sense in hindsight. So, the rest of this is a jump week where you'll be taking a leap, jumping from thing to thing, or otherwise making a major change. For some of you, the jumps or leaps will be finding you. Just roll with the punches. If there are punches, keep a move on and you'll be fine. So, really, it's like a leap of faith kind of week, or there are leaps finding you, or just big changes kind of happening where you're having new beginnings are happening, which is great. And it's just kind of the right move if there's a jump you're guided to take, is kind of what I'm getting. You don't have to force this if you're not sure if there's anything. You can kind of see what percolates this week or see what shows up for you this week. Um, Sometimes it's just more helpful to see what shows up if you're not sure regarding a message like this instead of like forcing a jump. um, because it'll make sense as you go through the week or in hindsight, is kind of what I'm getting here. So, but there are a lot of potential leaps of faith coming up, maybe in the next couple weeks or things like that. Number two, major change is on the horizon. Don't get too comfortable. We just talked about this in kind of like the past two messages, and it kind of also fits together really well with the first thing with the jump thing. So we'll read through it anyways. This isn't a bad message. Just be aware there's major change on the horizon, either a change you're making or a change that's finding you. This could be included with the jump message or could be separate from it. Go with the flow and you'll be fine. So it's pretty much like allowing the change, allowing you to change, allowing you to see things differently if the universe shows you things that are different. And maybe for some of you, it's just allowing yourself to head towards different things or to desire different things than maybe you'd normally desire. I'm not getting this out of my mouth the way I was planning on. What's the best way to say this here? Maybe it's heading towards things you weren't planning on heading towards before. However, you finally or suddenly have this big desire in your heart, like, oh, I feel destined to do this. Or it's like, oh, I feel in my heart really called to start moving this direction. Like trust that, and see if there's ways to start doing that in a either in a gentle way that doesn't rock the boat of your life too much all at once, or if you feel called to rock the boat, depending on the situation, trust your intuition. Mm, but maybe it's time to start heading towards those other dreams, or those new things kind of percolating, or start to see what you can do about those things. So, number three, changing seasons. So, we did kind of mention this ahead of time. I'll read through it again just in case, because this is different than what came through before I started reading what came through ahead of time. So, yes, around the world, the equinox just happened. So, there is a literal change in seasons. However, there is also a big change in the flavor of the energy of your life. For many of you, there are exciting opportunities coming in. And for others, like they talked about with Praying Mantis, and for others, your life will just feel different, but in a good way. If you are not sure about the changes happening, just be patient and ask for the best. Try not to get attached to things right now. So, that's a key right now. Try not to get attached to things right now. Maybe even things that have been there for a long time, and just hold it a bit loosely and see like, oh, where would this like to go? What would be optimal for me, for other people involved for the universe, with this thing? What would be highest and best? And allow that shift, because long term you'll be happy with it if you allow things to shift for the best instead of clinging to it out of a story you have or a belief you have, or this need to keep things the same to feel safe, even if it's maybe even not actually totally safe to keep things the same, or it wouldn't lead to the best results for you, or it might stagnate things. So really trust the universe on this with the change of seasons, the change of the flavor of the energy of your life. For a lot of you, it's going to be better. For others of you, it's like a major change that leads to a lot better down the road. So just kind of roll with it. and trust is what I'd say. Number 4, they showed me a milkshake, and the message is that shakeups are healing. So if you have had any like shakeups happen, they will heal quickly, or if any shakeups happen, they'll heal quickly. And you might even get a lot of clarity right away and be like, oh, this is the best thing that could happen. And you'll be like, okay. And you'll kind of either accept it or be an allowance of it and be able to roll with it a bit more easily. Because there is a lot more clarity online with this crowd than even a year ago or 2 years ago, is what I'm getting. And a lot more clarity online for the collective in general. So people are kind of being allowed to see more truth more readily, even in their personal circumstances. And you can have that anyways, regardless of the collective story. I'm just letting you know what's going on energetically, that's like more supported. So maybe it makes sense to your mind, I guess. So let's keep reading here. A lot of you are on the other side of shakeups or bad periods of life, and you are transcending into the next phase. Yay. They're showing me like ice cream and ice cream cones for some reason, but it's like this path leading into like a giant mint chocolate chip cone. It's like in this weird, um, it's like a background almost out in outer space, and there's like a door heading into the mint chocolate chip, like ice cream or something like that, which is really interesting. And it is symbolizing life change, like we've been talking about a lot today. Any other messages on that since they showed it to me? They're just giving me the word delicious. And, sometimes shakeups lead to the most delicious things. Like think of a milkshake. You put all this stuff into the blender, and then the blender, I know it kind of spins really fast and chops into things, but it shakes it up in a sense, or all the delicious drinks at a bar you could get that are shaken, to get the ingredients mixed just right so you can have the best results. And then if you think of how like a lot of it kind of came through ahead of time. It's like think of all the drinks that would be really gross or undrinkable if you never shook them up. Perhaps a shakeup is leading to something really delicious, and shakeups can be fun too. Please do not try to define our words, their words, into the worst case scenario. Like they kind of had me say that earlier too. However, like sometimes people are like, oh, I feel like I need to shake things up and do things a bit differently. It could just be like that, too, with the shake up thing. The other part of this here is shakeups are often meant to wake you up and to move you on to better, as well as to, they can also happen to show you what's truly going on around you in your life. So you're not just kind of stuck in situations that might not be beneficial to you as fully as you would think, unaware of it. So shakeups are never meant to ruin your life. So keep all of that in mind regarding the shakeup message. Like, it doesn't have to be difficult or bad in the first place. Two, it might be doing something for you that's really good and for your future. Four, it could be creating the most delicious thing yet for you in your life here. So, number 5, motorcycle freedom, increased freedom. Money and freedom are going to be focal points this week. What will it take for you to have both? Now might be a good time to dig into money wounds, financial issues, and to dig into what it will take for you to have more financial freedom, even if it is a slow road to get there for some of you, or it takes some shifts and changes, or a new job, or a new business, or something to make it happen, or to receive it happening, or generate it happening, to manifest it. Mm, you have what it takes to move towards freedom and more money. Dig into your beliefs around money this week. Take some time to really sit with it, channel on it, etc. Whatever you do with that, it could potentially change your life this week if you do so. The energies are ripe for financial healing and clarity. And that's another key. The energies are ripe for financial healing and clarity, which is great. How's it get any better than that? I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. It's like, can you dig into like money issues this week? Maybe look at your bank account. How am I doing? Maybe look at your spending the past month and be like, oh wow, I didn't realize I had this spending habit with the example coming into my head is like anime something. I don't really have any anime merch, if I'm being fully honest with you. So for some reason it's like maybe someone buys too many anime t-shirts in this example or something like that, or too many of the action figures or whatever. I'm so sorry if I'm butchering the terminology. Because I like anime. I'll watch it. It's just when I'm called to, when I'm guided to, it's just I don't always know all the terminology with that mentally. Anyways, I feel like I could have talked about all that in a way better way, but here we are. Let me see what they'd like to say more about this. Oh yeah, but then you look at your spending habits and you realize like, oh, I'm spending too much on this thing, or I didn't realize I had this thing over here I was spending money on monthly. I don't even watch, stars, TV programs or movies or whatever. So you could kind of start to change some of that on a more practical level. But you might also find some like beliefs or some like hidden things that were sticking you didn't realize were there. Like maybe you weren't making as much money to please your ex or something like that. It's like a weird, but it sounds weird, and that's because it probably like some of those things can be weird. Where you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was like holding money away from myself, so my ex didn't feel bad that I had money after I broke up with them or something like that, you know? So, and that's very people pleasy too. So that could be another area to dig into if you resonate with that, is the people pleasing thing. I think people really stick themselves with people pleasing more than they realize. And it doesn't really help the world as much as they think it does, or as much as their training and or societal conditioning would tell them that it does. And on some level, it's meant to keep you safe. It's just you probably don't need that as much anymore as you did as a child or growing up or as a teenager or whatever, maybe even earlier 20s. But number 6 here, there are a lot of upgrades, shifts, changes that are hitting hard this week. Can you allow the new in? Can you allow the shifts? Can you allow your abundance in? Can you receive? Allow things to shift, change, and upgrade. You're getting a lot of new, and it can be fun. Just receive. And that's it. I mean, that's pretty self explanatory. There's not a lot more they want me to say about that. I hope that helped and resonated to whatever was for you guys good. There might be one more message here. So there are some like karmic, okay, there are some karmic rewards and like not my typical terminology, karmic rewards and like rebalancing going on, or like this justice kind of rolling through the collective. I'm meaning it's going to be in your favor. This isn't like something to fear. So there are some like rewards on the way, maybe success, maybe abundance, or maybe just situations flipping in your favor because you've been a good person, according to the universe, are the words I'm hearing. Not my typical lingo, but that's okay. So be on the lookout for that, or just allow that when it shows up over the next month, couple weeks here, maybe longer, though I was hearing next couple weeks to a month. So, all right, that's cool. Well, hope that resonated. Do whatever is for your eyes good. You can find more from me on my website. We've got private channeled intuitive readings, private channeled intuitive mentoring, channeled MP3s geared towards shifting your life for the highest good. Got my monthly membership as well, with a lot of new channel content that comes out every month. And you got a whole content of channeled library to refer back to as well as you feel called to. So a lot of goodies for you on my website if you feel called to it. Or you can also check out the Channeling Source podcast for some more free channeling and some there's some really cool stuff going on there. I've been liking a lot of what's been coming through for the episodes. Not that I don't like the first few episodes, but especially the past few, not to denigrate any of it. So you can find more from me there. Otherwise, take care and have a good week.